Welcome to the 1 Hour Guide by Anil Nethu. You are here for the deep dive. And today, we are plunging into something foundational, something that can fundamentally alter the trajectory of your life. The incredible power of thinking big.
That's right. We're extracting the essential wisdom from these provided excerpts of a true classic, The Magic of Thinking Big, by David J. Schwartz. This deep dive is custom-tailored for you, based on the sources you've shared with us.
Our mission is clear: to cut through the noise, pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge and practical guidance from this material and, make it actionable for you. Think of this as your shortcut to understanding the core engine behind big accomplishments, all part of the 1 Hour Guide by Anil Nethu.
Exactly, so let's get right to the heart of it. The book starts by laying a really critical foundation.
Okay, let's unpack this. The absolute bedrock, the first principle Schwartz introduces, is simple yet kind of radical. Believe you can succeed, and you will.
It sounds deceptively simple, doesn't it? But Schwartz shows how powerful this is by contrasting people. You've got those who automatically assume big goals are, well, impossible for them. Then there are those who just believe they will succeed.
Right.
And the insight here is profound. Believing something's impossible isn't just like reflecting reality. It's a self-imposed cage. It stops you from even looking for the path, from trying, from innovating.
It creates its own reality, and Schwartz gives this amazing, almost unbelievable example of Harry the salesman. Harry wasn't, a genius based on tests, and he didn't work crazy hours,
Right.
yet somehow he was pulling in 5 times the average income for his role.
Wow.
And the executive trying to figure out Harry's secret realized it wasn't raw talent or just brute force, it was Harry's belief.
Just the belief itself.
Yeah. He simply believed he could earn that much, and that belief somehow triggered the right actions, the right conversations, the right focus to make it happen.
And you see this principle play out on a massive scale, too. Schwartz points to things like space exploration or the relentless pursuit of a cure for cancer.
Huge endeavors.
Exactly. These massive projects weren't born out of guaranteed success. They were born out of an unwavering belief that they were possible. Without that belief, the effort, the resources, the collective will, it just wouldn't have materialized.
So for us listening right now, what's the direct application? How do we use this thermostat idea he talks about?
Right. Schwartz uses that powerful analogy. Your belief is the thermostat for your accomplishments. If you believe you're only capable of achieving a little, you set your internal thermostat low, and well, you'll likely only receive a little. Your belief literally dictates the ceiling on your potential.
That hits home. So the first immediate action item seems pretty clear. Stop selling yourself short. Recognize you are capable of far more than you probably give yourself credit for.
Exactly. And then actively choose to believe big. Schwartz says the size of your success is directly proportional to the size of your belief. And here's a fascinating point he makes. Big ideas and big plans are often no harder, sometimes even easier, than small, timid ones.
Really? Why is that?
Because they ignite greater enthusiasm, they attract bigger resources, more support.
Ah, that makes sense. So consciously crank up that thermostat.
Adjust it forward. That's the key.
Right. Now, okay, once you start thinking about believing big, what's the first major obstacle you're likely to run into? Schwartz calls it the failure disease.
Yes, and his remedy is direct. Cure yourself of excusitis. He describes this as almost like a progressive disease.
It gets worse over time.
Yeah. The more you use excuses, the worse it gets.
Yeah.
People lean on common ones: poor health, lacking intelligence, age, bad luck, primarily as a shield,
A way to save face.
Exactly. It's a way to soften the blow of not doing well, rather than confronting the real reasons.
And he doesn't just name them, he gives specific antidotes. For poor health excusitis, the person convinced they have a bad heart or some chronic issue, even when doctors clear them. What's the advice there?
Well, Schwartz's advice, drawn from the source, is get competent medical evaluations, absolutely. Rule out genuine issues.
Okay.
But then, crucially, practice genuine gratitude for the health you do have. And avoid the trap of constantly seeking tests, just driven by fear.
That fear cycle.
Yeah. One doctor in the book specifically advises against that. And think about it, so many successful people achieve great things despite health challenges.
True. Okay, what about intelligence excusitis, feeling you're just not smart enough?
Schwartz strongly argues that attitude trumps raw IQ. He uses Henry Ford as an example. Not someone who memorized everything,
Right.
but someone who knew how to find the information he needed. That resourcefulness, that attitude of I can figure this out, is often far more valuable.
So it's not just about what you know, but your approach.
Exactly. Or Phil, the employee he mentions, average intelligence, but 3 times more valuable than higher IQ colleagues, purely because of his positive attitude, his enthusiasm, his people skills.
Right.
Knowing how to use information beats just hoarding it.
Age is another huge one. I'm too old to start, or I'm too young to be taken seriously.
Yeah, and Schwartz combats this with stories that just prove age is often just a number you give power to.
Hmm.
You know, the 45-year-old who decided to become a minister, the 51-year-old who went back for his degree.
So it's about focus.
Right. The key is not dwelling on your age, but on investing your future time. It's only too late if you think it is.
And the classic luck excuse-itis, blaming everything on bad luck.
Oh, yeah. Schwartz quotes a traffic engineer pointing out that, accidents don't just happen, they have causes.
There's a reason behind it.
Right. In life, bad luck or good luck are often the result of underlying actions or, well, lack of action. The story of George C.'s promotion is perfect. A complaining salesman dismisses it as pure luck.
But it wasn't.
No. Schwartz reveals George had been diligently working a really difficult account for months. Luck, in this context, is less about random chance and more about what happens when preparation meets opportunity. You basically create it.
So the practical remedy for excuse-itis. First step seems to be brutal honesty. Identify which excuses you might be using.
Absolutely. That's the starting point.
Then actively implement the countermeasures Schwartz suggests. Embrace the health you have. Focus on attitude and resourcefulness over just IQ. Ignore age as a real barrier, and understand that consistent action and preparation create your own luck.
Exactly. You take control back from the excuse.
Okay, let's talk about another major barrier Schwartz addresses head-on.
The big one.
Fear. Success enemy number one, according to the source, and the core message is incredibly direct. Action is the cure for fear.
Precisely. Fear is paralyzing. It stops people right in their tracks. But here's the kicker. Inaction doesn't make fear go away.
It makes it worse.
It fertilizes it. The longer you delay doing the thing you fear, the more power that fear gains over you.
The example Schwartz uses to hammer this point home is unforgettable, maybe a little extreme. The Navy recruits.
Yeah. Being intentionally, accidentally pushed off a high dive board.
Right. The shock forced immediate action, confronting the fear of heights head-on, and in doing the thing, the fear just dissolved.
It's a dramatic illustration, but it shows a simple truth. Schwartz offers several other powerful techniques, too, to build confidence and dismantle fear. One is managing your memory bank. He personifies memories as Mr. Defeat and Mr. Triumph.
Okay, how does that work?
The idea is to consciously deposit positive experiences, your successes, into your memory bank. And then, when you're facing a challenge, you deliberately make withdrawals from the Mr. Triumph account.
Focus on the wins.
Exactly. He shares the example of a psychologist helping a woman who only saw the sunset, the negative past, in a picture. The psychologist helped her learn to see the sunrise, the positive memories, to aid her recovery.
It's about choosing which narrative you replay in your mind. That's powerful. Another technique he mentions is getting perspective on people. The hotel clerk example.
Right. That's not just about customer service.
No, it's about not taking things personally. The clerk wasn't offended by the angry customer because he understood the customer wasn't mad at him personally.
But at the situation.
Exactly, at the frustrating situation. This detachment builds confidence in dealing with difficult interactions. You see their behavior as reflecting their state, not as a judgment on you.
That's a huge shift. And doing what your conscience tells you is right is presented as a cornerstone of competence. Schwartz tells the story of Paul W., who cheated in school and carried this debilitating guilt complex. Trying to get away with things, it erodes your internal integrity.
Makes you feel weak inside.
Right. Doing what's right, even when it's difficult, builds a strong conscience and really unshakable confidence.
And finally, Schwartz introduces this powerful idea of acting yourself into feeling confident through what he calls managed motions.
Yeah, the idea that your physical state can influence your emotional state.
He gives concrete actions. Sitting towards the front in meetings or classes like a posture of engagement.
Making direct eye contact.
Walking 25% faster, it literally makes you feel more purposeful.
Yeah, I've tried that one. It works.
Practicing speaking up, even with small contributions. And practicing smiling big, genuinely.
Even when you don't feel like it. The story of Smiley diffusing road rage after a rear-end collision. is a memorable example.
Right. These physical actions signal confidence and can actually help you feel more confident over time.
So the practical lessons here are pretty clear. Action is the ultimate antidote to fear, period.
Mm-hmm.
Consciously manage your memories. Recall the positives when you need strength. Gain perspective on others. See them as equals with their own struggles.
Be empathetic.
Exactly. Always do what you know is right to build that strong internal foundation. And use your physical being, your posture, eye contact, walk, smile, to project and actually build genuine confidence.
Okay, shifting gears slightly. How does the book address where good ideas actually come from? Creativity.
Right. Schwartz dedicates a section to harnessing creative thinking and cultivating good ideas. A central theme here is eliminating the word impossible from your thought process.
Just get rid of it.
Yeah. He frames creative thinking not as some innate talent only a few have, but as a skill built on believing solutions exist and being open to new ideas, and recognizing that tradition paralysis can be a major enemy.
Tradition paralysis, like being stuck in how we've always done it.
Exactly that. The example of asking a group to find ways to eliminate jails really illustrates this. When the challenge was presented as find a way to eliminate jails, implying it was possible.
People started thinking differently.
Right. They started generating ideas they wouldn't have dreamed of if it seemed impossible from the start. Belief unlocks creativity.
So overcoming that tradition paralysis is critical.
Hugely. Schwartz talks about that rare 1 in 20 person who doesn't just laugh at a radical idea but leans in and asks, tell me more.
Be curious.
Be curious. To foster creativity, you need to be experimental. Actively seek out new experiences, new perspectives. And you need to be progressive, constantly asking, how can this be done better? Rather than defaulting to the old ways.
Developing this creative power also involves honing your asking and listening skills.
Definitely. Schwartz notes that true leaders are often better listeners than talkers. He points to the power of consumer research in business, simply asking customers what they need and listening, really listening.
Like that account executive story.
Yeah, the account executive whose real estate venture was sparked by listening to others' ideas about buying a farm and planting trees. It shows how external input can fertilize your own thinking.
And then he stresses that ideas are perishable. You can't just let them float away.
No, you have to capture them. He offers a simple 3-step process. 1, write them down immediately when they strike. Don't let them escape.
Keep a notebook handy.
Or your phone, whatever works. 2, review them regularly. Keep an active file or list. 3, cultivate and fertilize them. Write them out. Refine them on paper. Sell the idea, even just to yourself.
Like the life insurance salesman example.
Exactly. He wasn't just selling a policy. He was selling the idea of security, peace of mind. You shape the idea.
There's also that intriguing point that your capacity isn't fixed. It's a state of mind.
Yes. The shoe store manager who kept asking, how can I do a better job? That led to small but impactful innovations, like adding a toy line that boosted traffic.
Small changes, big results.
Or the bank executive who eagerly took on extra assignments. He found that doing more actually expanded his mental capacity and accelerated his career. When you believe you can handle more, your mind rises to the challenge and finds creative ways to get it done.
So to unlock creative thinking, actively remove impossible from your vocabulary.
Embrace new experiences. Challenge tradition.
Sharpen your asking and listening skills.
Have a system to capture, review, and develop your ideas.
And fundamentally believe that you have the capacity to do and think bigger.
That belief fuels the whole process.
Okay, next, the source delves into the immense power of attitude, telling us you are what you think you are, and how to make your attitudes your allies.
Yeah, this is a core concept because your self-perception and the attitudes you project, they act like mirrors of your mind.
What you think shows up in how you act.
Exactly. They profoundly influence your actions and, critically, how others perceive and interact with you. How you carry yourself, how you think about your work, how you treat others, it all signals your internal state.
Schwartz touches on appearance first, saying, dress right, look important. It's not about vanity, is it?
No, not at all. He compares it to packaging, like those grapes that sold better in attractive polyethylene bags.
Presentation matters.
It's about showing respect for yourself, for the situation, for the people you're interacting with. Looking your best helps you feel and act your best. He suggests quality over quantity, too.
Right. Thinking your work is important is also highlighted as vital.
Absolutely vital. He shares that classic story of the 3 bricklayers. Same job. Vastly different attitudes.
One's just laying bricks, one's building a wall.
And one is building a cathedral. And the personnel director in the source observing Group A, those who saw their job as significant, suggested improvements, versus Group B, job as a chore, complained.
Promotions always went to Group A.
Always. The logic is clear. Believing your job is important sends subconscious signals to do it better. That leads to better performance, and naturally, advancement and reward follow.
Enthusiasm is another big one, highlighted as contagious.
It really is. Schwartz suggests techniques to build it, like the dig into a deeper method.
How does that work?
Learning more about something you're indifferent to often sparks genuine interest. Just, find out more.
Get curious again.
Yeah. Also, physically projecting enthusiasm. A lively smile, a firm handshake, energetic talk, a quicker walk, and proactively broadcasting good news.
Not gossip.
Definitely not gossip. Sharing positive news gets attention, lifts spirits, yours and others, and creates a positive atmosphere. Like that sign, give them a good word or none at all.
I like that. The "you are important" attitude is also crucial, and he says it works both ways.
Yes. Everyone, regardless of their status, craves feeling important. So making others feel important is a powerful way to build rapport and influence. Think about acknowledging a bus passenger or secretaries going the extra mile for salesmen who genuinely appreciated them, making big people feel even bigger by showing sincere respect.
So it builds connection.
Right. When you make others feel valued, they feel good about themselves and about you. Makes them more receptive. But you also have to feel important yourself deep down to command respect and believe in your own right to succeed.
And finally, under attitude, the service-first approach.
Yeah, Schwartz insists that focusing directly on money is the wrong approach. Instead, prioritize service, provide value, and the money tends to follow.
Like the gas station example.
Simple, but effective. Attendants who cleaned windshields without being asked created fiercely loyal customers. He contrasts this with FH, who was consumed with needing more money, but wasn't focused on earning it by providing more value or better service.
So the focus was wrong.
Completely. Or the movie producer, giving people more than they expected it, created a hit because audiences felt they got incredible value.
Give more than expected.
That's the principle. So cultivate these attitudes. Take pride in your appearance. See your work as important. Be enthusiastic. Make others feel important. And always put service first. These aren't just behaviors, they're internal states that genuinely change your reality.
The book also spends time on the external factors, specifically managing your environment and this idea of going first class.
Yes, Schwartz emphasizes that your mind tends to reflect its environment. The people you spend time with, the media you consume, the places you go, that's your mind diet.
And it shapes you.
It shapes your habits, your attitudes, your personality. He identifies 3 groups based on how they handle negative influences.
Yeah.
Those who completely surrender and just make excuses.
Give up.
Yeah. Those who partially surrender and lose their initial hope and steam, and those who actively resist the negativity and succeed.
So avoiding negators is a key takeaway here.
Absolutely critical. Schwartz even recounts making someone a personal experiment in negativity just to see the draining effect.
Wow.
And the story of the office worker changing her carpool to escape a constant complainer. It illustrates the practical need to distance yourself from persistently negative people.
Why are people like that?
Well, sometimes they're well-meaning, but often, Schwartz suggests, they might be fueled by their own inadequacy or jealousy. They can slowly chip away at your belief and drive if you let them.
And when you need advice, be selective.
Definitely. Don't get counsel about your future from freelance advisors who haven't achieved what you aspired to. Seek out and listen to people who are actually succeeding in the areas you care about.
Makes sense. I love the phrase, getting psychological sunshine. What does that entail?
It's about proactively managing your exposure to positive influences and experiences. Plan your weekends, don't just let them happen. He contrasts John, who planned varied, stimulating activities, with Milton, whose unplanned weekends were monotonous. It shows the impact on mental well-being.
So be intentional about positive input.
Right. Circulate in new groups, seek variety in activities and people to keep your mind stimulated and positive.
And avoid thought poison, particularly gossip.
Crucial. Gossip, Schwartz argues, warps your thinking. It's built on distortions, it creates guilt, and it just fills your mental space with negativity. Avoiding listening to or participating in negative talk about others is essential for maintaining a positive mind.
And then going first class, this isn't just about being extravagant, is it?
Not at all. It's about choosing quality, not just in possessions, but in experiences and interactions. He contrasts a cheap, greasy spoon meal with a slightly more expensive but far better dining experience.
Quality over just cheapness.
Exactly. Or the risks of a bargain accountant or a cut-rate doctor. Schwartz argues this isn't just luxury. It's about self-respect and how others perceive you. Choosing quality signals that you value yourself and what you do,
And that influences your thinking.
and how others treat you. He argues it often isn't truly more expensive in the long run when you factor in value, results, and self-respect.
So be mindful of your environment, your mind diet.
Actively avoid negative people and gossip.
Seek advice from successful individuals.
Plan for psychological sunshine through variety and new experiences.
And choose quality. Go first class.
Yeah.
In the experiences you seek and the value you place on yourself and others.
It all reinforces that positive, success-oriented mindset.
Okay, we've covered the foundation, cleared obstacles, developed tools, curated our environment. Now, how do we actually do things and handle it when things inevitably don't go as planned? This leads us to the action habit and turning defeat into victory.
Yeah, these sections are critical because, as Schwartz emphasizes, ideas, beliefs, great attitudes, they're only valuable when you act on them.
Ideas are worthless without action.
Exactly. He contrasts Mr. Activationist, the doer, with Mr. Passivationist, the postponer. Excellent ideas are just inert if they stay in your head.
A major barrier to action seems to be waiting for perfect conditions.
Oh, a huge one. Schwartz gives examples. GN overanalyzing marriage plans until the woman married someone else.
Analysis paralysis.
Totally. Or JM, who wanted to buy a home but had limited income. But by taking action to buy anyway, it forced him to creatively find ways to cut expenses and earn more. Action sparked the solution.
Interesting.
And CD, who had a great business idea but never started because he kept waiting for the market, the funding, the timing to be absolutely perfect, which it never is.
So the lesson is, take intelligent action even if conditions aren't ideal.
Yes. Action itself clarifies the path forward.
The principle that action cures fear also reappears here.
It does. Simply doing the task you dread, even just starting it mechanically, like he says with washing dishes, it dissolves the fear and dread far more effectively than just sitting there procrastinating.
Just get started.
He also touches briefly on mind action, organizing your thoughts and mental work using simple systems. Basically, be proactive mentally, too.
Okay, what about handling setbacks? Because they will happen.
Schwartz is unequivocal here. Defeat is not a state of circumstance, it's a state of mind. Successful people don't avoid failure, they bounce back from it.
It's about the response.
Exactly. The story of the management consultant is powerful. Losing everything, living in his office, constantly hearing no, yet viewing each rejection as a learning experience. And Schwartz cites examples from the book of highly successful figures, including U.S. presidents like Roosevelt, Truman, Kennedy, Johnson, and Eisenhower.
Just reporting the examples from the source.
Right, presented in the source as examples of people who reached great heights despite facing immense personal misfortunes or numerous public setbacks. It shows that setbacks are part of the journey, not the end of it.
And W. Halvin Williams overcoming blindness to become a minister.
Another profound example of resilience from the text.
So the key is salvaging something from every setback, learning from it.
Yes. Analyze what went wrong, honestly, like carefully reviewing investment mistakes. Use constructive self-criticism. He gives the example of Miss Stevens, the opera singer, who didn't blame others after a bad review, but identified and worked on her own vocal and language flaws. Constructive criticism builds strength. Blaming others is, well, a destructive habit.
And finally, blending persistence with experimentation.
Crucial point. The literary consultant working with a persistent writer illustrates this. Persistence is good, absolutely. But if one approach isn't working,
You got to try something else.
you need to be willing to experiment with new routes. Stay focused on the goal, but don't keep beating your head against the same wall. And critically, look for the good side, the upside, in every situation to fight off discouragement.
So the practical guidance here. Build the habit of taking action. Don't wait for perfection.
When you act, expect challenges, but focus on finding solutions as you go.
Give your ideas value by acting on them.
See setbacks as temporary lessons, not final defeats.
Analyze mistakes constructively.
And be persistent in your aim, but flexible and experimental in your method. Always look for the positive angle.
Okay, we're moving toward the end of our deep dive into these excerpts, covering two final powerful ideas from Schwartz: using goals to grow and thinking like a leader.
Right. Defining clear goals is presented as, well, non-negotiable for progress. As Schwartz puts it, The important thing is not where you were or where you are, but where you want to get.
Know your destination?
Exactly. Just like successful corporations plan years ahead, individuals need clear written goals for their work, home, and social lives. The example of FB being asked to describe his desired image 10 years out, that helped him define his career path. Goals provide the destination.
And your subconscious works towards them.
That's the idea. Your subconscious mind, guided by these goals, helps you navigate toward them. Goals translate desires into deadlines and tasks, whether it's a production schedule, a sales quota, finishing a term paper, or those powerful personal goals like Lou Gordon refusing to retire, or Mrs. D fighting cancer to see her son grow up. Goals provide drive.
But the journey to big goals isn't one giant leap. It's step by step.
Absolutely. The great writer Eric Severade approached writing a book not as one daunting task, but one paragraph at a time. Big accomplishments are built from smaller, consistent daily efforts.
Break it down.
Yeah, Schwartz suggests setting both 2-year goals and shorter 30-day goals to create a practical roadmap. Make it manageable.
A crucial part of using goals to grow is investing in yourself. Not just degrees, but competence.
Yes, very important. Schwartz echoes GE Chairman Cordner's view that true education isn't just accumulating diplomas, it's what you learn and put to use. It's knowing how to get and apply information.
Lifelong learning.
Right. Continuously invest in things that build your mental power books, new experiences, systems for capturing ideas. Keep growing your competence.
The sources then lay out 4 essential rules for thinking like a leader. Leadership being fundamentally about influencing people to achieve results.
Rule 1. Trade minds with the people you want to influence. You absolutely must see things from their perspective.
Put yourself in their shoes.
Exactly. Examples include Ted B's failed TV commercial because he didn't think like parents and children. Joan, the assistant buyer, who only bought inventory she liked, not what customers wanted. The Fuse advertising exec who couldn't see his product through the eyes of the mass market.
You have to ask.
How would I see this if I were in their shoes constantly?
Okay, leadership rule 2.
Think. What is the human way to handle this? Leaders work through people, and people aren't machines. The engineering executive John S. was successful because he handled his team humanely.
How so?
Helping with housing, celebrating birthdays, treating dismissals with respect and dignity, rub people the right way, practice sincere praise. This builds loyalty and support.
Leadership rule 3. Think progress, believe in progress, push for progress.
Leaders have a forward-looking mindset. They're always seeking improvement and setting high standards, not just for others, but leading by example. Changing leadership often revitalizes stagnant organizations by injecting this progressive mindset.
And finally, leadership rule 4. Take time out for solitude to confer with yourself.
Yes. Schwartz notes that great leaders throughout history, from Moses and Jesus to figures like Roosevelt and Truman, mentioned in the source intentionally set aside time for quiet reflection and thinking.
Contrast that with people who hate being alone.
Right, Mr. I can't stand to be alone. Thinking is the leader's primary work, and solitude taps into your highest thinking power. You need that space.
Okay, the practical takeaways here are vital. Define clear, written goals for all aspects of your life.
Break those big goals down into smaller, manageable steps.
Continuously invest in your learning and competence.
Practice seeing things from others' viewpoints to become a better influencer. Empathy.
Always choose the human approach in dealing with people.
Champion progress and set high standards, leading by example.
And schedule dedicated time for solitary thinking and reflection. Make time for it.
We've covered a tremendous amount of ground in this deep dive, really digging into these core ideas.
Absolutely. From the absolute necessity of belief, the insidious nature of excusitis and how to cure it, the power of action to conquer fear.
Tapping into creative thinking, making your attitudes your strongest allies.
Curating your environment for success, cultivating the action habit, bouncing back from setbacks.
To setting clear goals and developing the mindset of a leader. It's a comprehensive framework.
It really is.
And the fundamental message running through all these concepts from the source material is this. Your life, your accomplishments, your reality, they are all profoundly shaped by how you think.
Simple but huge.
Change your thinking, and you can genuinely change your life.
Which leaves us with a powerful thought for you listening right now to sit with. If, as Schwartz suggests, your belief is the thermostat that sets the limits on what you can achieve, what temperature is your thermostat set to today?
Good question.
And maybe what's one small way you could begin to turn it up, even just a degree or 2?
Think about where you could turn that thermostat up. That's a great reflection point.
This deep dive, built from the sources you provided, was made possible for you as part of the 1-Hour Guide by Anil Nathu.
Thank you for joining us today. Buy the book at the 1 Hour Guide website for more business insights.